Welcome back, everyone. We're here today, episode 158 of the Integrative Health Coach Success Podcast. I'm Dr. Stephen Cabral, founder of the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, and excited to go over today's topic, which is going to be, I think, an important one for all of us out there. If you're a health coach or you're in the health and wellness-based space, you want to be able to create some valuable content for your clients and potential clients. One of the reasons you want to do it for your clients is so that you can continue to reinforce the great decision they made to work with you. And you want to hopefully then be able to share really valuable knowledge in little snippets on a daily basis to people that may be looking for a health coach or health practitioner in your space. So that's the nice thing, is that you're always giving first. It really comes down to the law of reciprocity. Always give more. If you give more and you give on a daily basis, you provide a great service, then you're going to feel comfortable and confident about charging a very fair price for your services. So what I wanted to share with you today, a lot of people ask, I do my Friday reviews, and every single Friday I give 2 research snippets, but I'm also doing a review on herbs, the herb of the week this year. I've done one on vitamins and minerals in past years. And then I would say most Tuesday shows, sometimes even Wednesday shows, are based on specific research. Now, my podcast is the Cabral Concept. If you're not familiar with that, you're welcome to check it out. Check out what I do. And again, we now are reaching over 3 million people per month, or 3 million downloads per month. So what I like to do is just always share kind of what's working. And I'm going to break down today in 5 simple steps, and really short, really quick, so that you can begin to implement, because my goal is not for you to always be so weighed down or bogged down with actual knowledge and learning, but actually get out there and say, okay, how can I implement this week? Like, how can I do it today so that I could post something tomorrow on social media, a quick Instagram story just with your own phone, etc. So the first thing comes down to is, where do you find the information? I'm going to give you maybe like a half a dozen different spots today, but what I want you to do is to look for your favorites in the future. And then if you want more advanced ones, I'm happy to give you some advanced ones. Everything I'm going to give you today is free, but then there are some paid ones out there as well. I'm just not going to start with the paid ones, because you'll probably want to grow your practice, and then you can decide on doing things that cost money. I think that that's fair. So the first one that most people point to, and then again, after I go through where to find it, I'm going to give you how to read the research, just like really simply, and then what to take from it, how to cite it on your posts, and then just kind of one little note of what to be careful about. So the main one that people chat about, and the main one that I use myself, is the National Institutes of Health. And it's what people essentially refer to a lot of the time as PubMed. And all we're looking at is the NIH. Now, again, I'm going to talk about this more at the end. Just, again, talk about what you want to talk about, what you base a lot of your practice on, your beliefs, but be careful about citing fringe research. Now, one of the important things when you land on nih.gov, and don't worry about the websites, I'm going to link them up for you. So you'll just go to ihp.coach/158, and we'll link all of these up. And again, these are free of charge. There are some paid versions of them, but there's always a free version for what I'm talking about. So on most of these, the very first homepage, like nih.gov, you're going to be able to search the topic you want. Don't make it, so first go broad and then go narrow. So like, let's say you want to look up Hashimoto's. All right, just type in Hashimoto's. But then you want to say, okay, I want to see how ashwagandha has been proven to be effective and helpful for people with Hashimoto's or low thyroid. So then you can start to refine, saying Hashimoto's and ashwagandha. So you can start to see those right there. Oh, let me just type in, I'm just going to do this really quick. Thyroid and ashwagandha. All right. And luckily I've spelled the word 1,000 times. So now it takes me to a results page. All right. And they do have this in Spanish as well. So efficacy and safety of ashwagandha root in extract in subclinical studies, role of ashwagandha and its extract in regulation of the thyroid, neuroprotective effect of ashwagandha against thyroid-based issues. So again, there's a whole bunch of studies, and you're welcome to read over 4, 5, whatever you like, and then you'll be able to develop a post on that. So this is really easy to use. I think it's probably the easiest to use, because you can literally look up anything you want, good, bad, etc. But again, that's the whole thing about the research. There's so much research that you can basically find anything you want to be true, right? I mean, that's part of the issue with science, and I'm using that in air quotes as well. All right, the next one that I think a lot of people used to use, and I certainly used it during the pandemic, is the Center for Disease Control and the World Health Organization. I really try not to use them anymore. I will look at, again, I keep an open mind. So I will look at all of the data. And yes, I look at the Center of Disease Control. And yes, I look at the World Health Organization. But I don't keep it as the end all be all, because as we know, there were certain statistics that were skewed because we now know that there's a lot of sponsorship that goes on of these agencies. Now, am I saying that everything is deceitful? No, I'm not. But I am saying that they absolutely were caught with some backtracking in what was first recommended versus not recommended versus removed from their actual website. So when you're removing information from your website that's been there for many, many years, that to me is a little suspect. And so I'm just careful of it. I did want our neighbors to the north to know that there is a Health Canada, and that one is canada.ca. This one's in English, so it's /en/health-Canada. All right, so that's Health Canada. Now, again, I don't know how you feel about Canadian health recommendations as well, but again, you can take that for whatever you'd like. But there's a lot of updates there as well. So if you're kind of looking for current information, those two might be worth checking out. All right, there are 3 medical schools, let's say 4. Okay, 4 medical schools that I go to quite a bit. And those medical schools are going to be, I gave you NIH.gov in the beginning. And right afterwards, I wanted to give you the actual PubMed.gov website to look up. So there it is, National Institute for Health sponsored. So they're both sponsored by that. PubMed's looking to the National Library of Medicine. And so that's pubmed.gov. I'm going to link that up too, but it's pubmed.ncbi.nlm.nih.gov. And so you'll probably see that over and over and over. I know it's a lot of letters, but it's always going to look like that. So that's the PubMed directory. I'm going to link that up for you, a little separate than the NIH as well. Okay, so those schools that I was recommending. All right, I used Johns Hopkins University for a lot of their statistics during the pandemic. It was pretty much up to date. It wasn't really skewed in terms of the data, except in how it was collected. But it's okay. Like, I understood how they collected, and as long as they're open and transparent, then I'm okay with that, because then I understand like where it's coming from, and I know, again, I know if there's any bias there. I like Harvard Medical School, and so I'm going to link that up for you. I like the Mayo Clinic. I like the Cleveland Clinic. Those are all ones that I kind of move around and kind of oscillate and look at. I'm only giving you US-based ones now. I'll give you some overseas ones that I look at too. But these are the main ones that I'm really looking at for overall kind of what's current and what's being said. Now, again, they're not the end-all be-all. Again, it's not like I can say I agree with everything that are being published there. However, it's where I look for to look up a lot of these studies, because they are published or they're written about on these particular websites. And just one more, the Environmental Working Group, I really like them, ewg.org, and they're going to give you a lot of unbiased from toxicity-based issues, what's going on in the environment, heavy metals, plastics, etc. Okay, so let me just, I'll talk about one more in just a second, but let me kind of circle back for a moment. So what I will often do is I will look things up on PubMed. I'll look them up through the NIH. I'll look them up on the typical research-based websites. But then I will type an article into just Google, and then I'll say, oh, here's what Harvard is saying about it. Here's what Mayo Clinic, and I'll just get different takes on it. I actually like learning and hearing things from different sides and different opinions on good and bad. And I think that if you're really into what is the best thing is for your clients, you'll understand that it's not about you. It's not about any research. It's about, hey, how can I best serve my clients? So that's what I try to do. And so then you'll get a lot of perspectives. And in the beginning, especially too, it'll be easier for you to understand the research, but I'll go over that in just one moment. All right. The last part is this. I read a lot of books. I used to read hundreds and hundreds of books per year. But now, although I read at least 100 books a year, because I'm reading at least 2 books a week, so at least 2-3 books a week, I do a lot of different types of reading now, and I also do a ton of research. So there's, again, once you've been reading for decades or at least 10 years, and you've been reading, let's say, at least 1,000 books, you will look for new ideas, new ways of looking and attacking different topics. And so that's a lot of what I do, but I still read whatever's current out there. There's not a lot of groundbreaking work that I've seen at the moment. And when that changes, I always recommend the book on a podcast as well. But anyway, it's still groundbreaking, again, until you put in your 10,000 plus hours in your particular field. And so you have to look at it that way. When I enter a new field, I'm a novice and I need to get up to speed. It's going to take me some time, right? So I'm just trying to get in my 10,000 hours in that field as well. Okay, so the last thing I'll share with you is the books part. So what I do is when I read a good book, I'm like, oh, that's a great little research snippet there. That's a great study. That's a great whatever. And I'll go to the back and I'll find the actual research study on it. So then I'm able to look at that more in depth. So like, for example, my book, The Rain Barrel Effect, there's over 300 citations. So there's like at least 300 different sources for you to say, oh, this is interesting. Let me go more in depth on that. And then you can look at that too. So those are my favorite places. Again, not hard. Most articles online, if it's a good article, will cite a study. So then you're able to go into the study. All right. So fairly straightforward. I'm going to link those links up for you today. You can start to search around and come up with some interesting things for yourself. All right. So how do you read these studies, though, as you dive into them? The first thing is typically they'll give you an abstract of what the study is all about. So this is really nice because it's like maybe 3 to 5 lines. It's going to tell you what the study is all about so that you get an overview and you say to yourself, okay, is this worth my time reading the whole thing? And you might say, well, I'm still not sure yet. Okay, well, the nice thing is they'll give you an introduction to the study, all right? And then they'll often give you the results of the study. And then they'll give you the conclusion of the study. That might take you maybe 3 to 5 minutes to read. And I love that because I can say, okay, how big was this study? For me, I like larger studies. How long was the study? Okay, for me, I like to see a good length of time, not 4 weeks. And then I like to say, okay, what were the results? And how many different controls were there? Was this a double blind or not? Like, again, did people know they were being tested? Well, was there a placebo effect? So I like to look at that. I like to look at the control group, placebo, or sometimes it's not placebo, of course, it's just the control versus the outcome. And so then I say, all of this looks good. Now let me figure out how they did the study. And then I can start to read the full study, okay? So really important that you can spend just 3 to 5 minutes on a lot of these research, and it's not that complicated, especially as you start to get into it a bit more. All right. So my last part is then, how do you then translate this for other people online? Well, you have to basically say, I am not here to try to impress people with my knowledge. There's a lot of people online trying to do that. And they seem smart, at least for a while, to people. But the problem is, if they're ever interviewed online, or they have to do ever anything in depth for speaking for 20, 30, 60 minutes at a time on an interview, all you can see is them quoting these little tidbits, but there's no depth of knowledge there. But also, so again, you never want to get caught in that. But the second part is that people don't really care. They honestly don't. People want to know, are you trustable? Are you sharing information that they can understand, that they can take action on? People want to be able to take action. And so the thing is, and they want to better their lives. And I think that that's fair. So what your job is to do is read the research, read the science to the best of your knowledge, and then find 1, maximum 2 takeaways. That's it. And that's what you're going to deliver as your social media post or video or podcast or article, whatever you choose to do. You turn it into a short snippet, 30 seconds to a minute on an Instagram story, or a post that might take you 10 minutes, 15 minutes to write. But really, really great to be able to do that. And then ideally, what I always try to do on my podcast is just cite the source. That's all. So I'm just going to source it right to PubMed, NIH, etc., Harvard Health, whatever it might be, so that if people want to actually see this research, they can then go more in depth. Because on my podcast, I probably have like 25% of the people are actually health practitioners. So they might want to go a little bit more in depth. And then who knows, maybe you decide to do your own post or show on that as well. And that would work great. So my on social media, obviously, a lot of them are not live links if we're talking about Instagram. You could have people go to your bio and link out from there. That's fine. Or just write it again, like, hey, here's the source. If you're really into it, you can type it into Google. But on your website, you can. And if you put it on your website, which I do recommend, so you start to get building up of your articles and build some more authority for your website, is that you always link it. But when you link it out to a new window or a new tab. You don't want people leaving your website to go onto PubMed or whatever. Have them go into a new tab, but have them be able to come back to your website too, because you're the one who brought them that great information in the first place. All right, the last is this, just basically a public service announcement, a warning. Be careful about making anything too sensationalistic. It'll come back to bite you every time. If it's a small study, state it's a small study. If there's more information that needs to be gotten, tell people that there's more information that we still need to learn about this. If it's... I don't even know. Like if it's a sensationalistic study, like there was one I remember years ago, like, oh, the people who eat the most dark chocolate end up winning the most Nobel Prizes. I was like, what? And so I just went in, reviewed the research, and I'm like, oh, because they're looking at the countries where the most Nobel Prize winners come from and the amount of like chocolate per capita. It was something ridiculous. So just be careful with the sensationalistic stuff. If you ever get found out as, someone that's promoting something absurd, they just won't listen to you in the future. And so you don't want to wreck your brand or your name or all the hard work you've put in with not making sure that it's actually good science and good data. So hopefully this was helpful. What I'm going to do is I'm going to link up everything today at ihp.coach/158. Hopefully today's show was helpful. We'll be back, of course, each and every week, sharing the best of integrative health. Thank you so much. Take care. Have an amazing day.